In 2023, Franklin Township, Indiana, was gripped with fear. A wave of break-ins spread through the quiet neighborhood, leaving thousands of residents too afraid to step outside after dark. A thief had hit over 24 homes and cars in less than a week, slipping into houses like a shadow in the night. On the morning of Tuesday, July 13th, Carla Wilson woke up feeling uneasy. Something felt off. When she reached for her jewelry box, her stomach dropped. Some of her favorite pieces were missing. Confused, she wandered through the house, retracing her steps until her breath caught in her throat. Her front door was open, wide open. Heart pounding, she rushed to check her Ring camera footage from the night before. As the video loaded, her blood ran cold. There, in the dim glow of the garage light, a hooded man stood, moving slowly, deliberately. He wasn't just passing by, he was inside. The man, his beard barely visible under his pulled-up hood, moved like he belonged there. The video showed him grabbing a can of WD-40 from Carla's own shelf, shaking it once before spraying it down the side of her door. He had planned for this. Days earlier, he had broken into her family car parked outside and stolen the garage door opener. That's how he got in so easily. He simply pressed a button. Once inside, he rummaged through the car in the garage, stealing money, an iPhone, and a pair of sunglasses. But he wasn't done. After ensuring the door wouldn't squeak, he picked the lock and stepped inside the house itself. The next part of the footage was the worst. He entered Carla's bedroom. For a long moment, he stood there, watching her sleep. Just a few feet away, completely unaware, she breathed steadily under the blankets. The man didn't flinch. Instead, he calmly strolled into the living room, taking his time as he pocketed several pieces of jewelry, including her favorite diamond ring. The entire time, Carla's bedroom door remained wide open. She never woke up. After exactly 7 minutes inside her home, the man simply walked out the front door and disappeared into the night. When police arrived, they were stunned by how methodical he was. He had silenced the door, taken only valuable items, and never triggered an alarm. It was clear this wasn't his first time. And yet, despite his boldness, he was never caught. For Carla, the worst part wasn't the stolen jewelry. It was the horrifying realization that a stranger had stood in her bedroom, watching her sleep, knowing he could have done anything he wanted. And she never even knew. Flushing, Queens, is known as a safe place to live, the kind of neighborhood where people feel comfortable leaving their doors unlocked. But in 2015, one chilling video changed that. Footage from a home on 33rd Avenue near Union Street went viral, leaving residents shaken. It was a quiet night in late November when a security camera captured a man approaching the house. He wore a backpack and a black cap with the word diamond stitched across it. He moved casually at first as if he belonged there, but instead of knocking, he slipped around to the back and found the door unlocked. The next moments were unsettling. The man stepped inside, moving on his tiptoes, careful not to make a sound. Then, as if acting out some twisted scene from a horror movie, he dropped to his hands and knees. The footage showed him crawling, slowly, deliberately, through the dark house. Clenched between his teeth was something metallic, a knife. Inside the bedroom, just feet away, the homeowners lay asleep, completely unaware that a stranger was creeping toward them in the dark. Without making a sound, he reached for a phone resting on a dresser and slipped it into his pocket. That's where the video ended, but the true terror came next. The homeowner, half asleep, stirred at the faint sound of movement on the floor. Something wasn't right. Then, instinct took over. He jolted upright. In an instant, the intruder sprang to his feet and bolted from the room. He fled the house before anyone could stop him. Shaken, the homeowners called the police, who released the footage to the public. They described the suspect as a tall, heavy-set man, about 6'2", 200 pounds. But despite the clear video evidence, he was never caught. The most disturbing part? No one knows what he intended to do with that knife. Along with the 2 sleeping adults, 3 children were in the house that night. Afterward, the homeowners made sure to lock every door, every night. But as for the intruder, he vanished into the night, leaving behind only questions. Questions no one really wanted answers to. On Monday, July 25, 2016, Jack McKercher and his girlfriend, Jordan Baranskis, came home after a nice dinner in Chicago. Tired and full, they curled up on the couch, watching TV until they drifted off to sleep, something they did all the time. It was just another quiet night. The next morning, Jordan couldn't find her purse. Frustrated, she asked Jack if he had seen it, but he just shrugged, insisting she must have left it at the restaurant. The argument escalated, and to settle it once and for all, they decided to check their security camera footage. They rewound the video, scanning through the previous night, until something made them freeze. At 3:30 a.m., a man was in their house. He wasn't just passing through. He stood at the top of the stairs, motionless, looking straight down at them while they slept on the couch below. Their blood ran cold. The footage showed how he had entered, walking right through their unlocked front door, gliding past them without a sound. He didn't rush. He didn't search for valuables. Instead, he crept upstairs and just watched them. 4 long minutes passed before he finally turned and left. Even more unsettling? The couple's 2 dogs, curled up at their feet, never made a sound. They hadn't sensed him at all. Shaken, Jack and Jordan reported the break-in to the police. The sheriff suspected the same man had been behind several recent burglaries in the neighborhood, and in the days that followed, the mystery deepened. Residents began sharing eerie photos of him online, riding a bike through dark alleys, testing door handles, lurking near homes late at night. He hadn't been targeting just their house. He had been searching for a way into any home he could find. But perhaps the strangest part, he had broken in without waking them, stood there watching. And yet, all he took was a purse. In an interview with WGN-TV, Jordan tried to downplay it. Maybe he was just watching the TV, she said, though her nervous smile betrayed her doubt. The truth was impossible to know. Even after warnings were sent out and a manhunt began, the intruder was never found. And Jack and Jordan were left with the terrifying realization that, for 4 whole minutes, they had been completely at his mercy, without ever knowing he was there. The footage was captured in March 2019 by security cameras inside a Bronx apartment. What it showed was chilling. A man had broken in during the dead of night. Moving slowly, he slipped into a nursery where a 2-month-old baby lay sleeping in her crib. The dim glow from a streetlight outside cast his shadow across the room as he rifled through drawers, his hands searching through a space meant for an innocent child. He never touched the baby, never even looked at her, but that almost made it worse. He carried on as if she wasn't there, as if violating her home right in front of her meant nothing. Minutes passed, then, just as he reached for something on a shelf, he froze. Footsteps echoed from the living room. The baby's father was awake. The intruder stiffened, listening. Then, without making a sound, he slipped back through the window and into the night. But he wasn't done. Instead of fleeing, he climbed to another floor and broke into a second apartment, this time belonging to a 28-year-old woman. Here, luck was on his side. No sudden noises, no footsteps to scare him off. He took his time, grabbing jewelry, a bicycle, and a backpack before vanishing into the dark. Later, investigators discovered how he had gotten in. He had used the building's unsecured fire exit windows, a weak point no one had thought to protect. The footage of his face was crystal clear. The NYPD issued a Crime Stoppers alert. People in the neighborhood were warned to be on the lookout, but none of it mattered. The man was never seen again. Did he keep breaking into homes? Did he disappear into another city? No one knows for sure. But one thing is certain. Somewhere out there, a man capable of creeping into a nursery without hesitation is still walking free. On June 18, 2017, Jeff D. came home from work at 3:45 a.m., exhausted and ready to collapse into bed. But the second he stepped inside, his stomach dropped. His house had been completely trashed. Drawers were flung open, furniture overturned, shattered glass littered the floor. It wasn't just a burglary, it was chaos.
Hey folks,
A glass of Kool-Aid sat on the floor next to a slice of pizza, as if the intruder had simply stopped for a snack in the middle of the destruction. Jeff, sluggish and confused. I don't know. Even stranger, when asked for his name, he hesitated. It was as if he couldn't remember. For someone who had just destroyed an entire house, he didn't resist at all when they put him in cuffs. It was unsettling. He simply went along, silent, detached, like none of this mattered. Later, the police identified him as 39-year-old Stacy Foster, a resident of Fraser's Bottom, West Virginia. He was charged with nighttime burglary and destruction of property, his bail set at $50,000. But after that, the details went silent. No one publicly revealed what the authorities did with him or how he had ended up there in the first place. And that was the most disturbing part of all.